of the original series. And believe me, this was actually a fun series to watch. And it really capitalized on what you saw in the movies, not just the animated films, but it capitalized on what you saw in the live action films. You take Daphne, for example. Here's a character that really was kind of like a mix of what you saw before. She was still danger prone and everything and would get caught. Excuse me. But she really knew how to accessorize. That was unbelievable. And I like how they play up Fred's ego in this series, as well as, because that makes him more of a comic relief than Shaggy and Scooby. And Velma, well, she kind of stays the same a little bit, but there's a difference about her that you could see as well. And Scooby and Shaggy, they're about the same, just as well too, but again, it was definitely a great update, bringing the characters into modern times, and thus doing sort of like a continuation of what you saw in the animated direct-to-video films, as well as a continuation of what you saw in the live-action films and in the original series. That is why What's New Scooby-Doo is number 3 on this countdown. Now, if I skipped any numbers, let me know. I'll try to do a revising of it later on. Now, number 2. Number 2 is the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. That's right, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which was the last Scooby-Doo cartoon in the original incarnation and original run of the franchise. Now, what made this so different was it only ran for one season, but it actually ran for almost all 13 episodes it was supposed to go with. Now, what was funny about what made this show unique is it actually gave two of the human characters that we've come to know and love drastic makeovers. Well, not really drastic when it comes to Shaggy. Now, you might recall back in the late 80s and all that, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy starred in, I think, 2 to 3 made-for-television animated films. Scooby and the Reluctant Werewolf, The Ghoul School, and the Boo Brothers, right? Now, you might notice something about Shaggy in those movies. What was the one thing you noticed that was different about Shaggy? That's right. Shaggy had a red t-shirt and blue pants. Well, he didn't just get those because of the movie. He got those in the last incarnation, in the last animated series of, like I say, the original run of the Scooby-Doo franchise in 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. That was the makeover the the Hanna-Barbera studio and Bill and Joe gave Shaggy. That's where they introduced his new red t-shirt and blue pants. Now that design would return later on in the Cyber Chase movie when the original Shaggy would encounter his cyber double who looked like that character or looked like that incarnation. But he wasn't the only one. The other one that got a drastic makeover, and I do mean drastic, was Daphne. How drastic did she get it? Well, just put it this way. Gone was the headband. She had bangs sorry about that. My finger hit the mic. But she had bangs up to right up to her faces, and she had overalls, purple overalls. Think of it this way. Now I don't know if you guys know of this character. Think of Debbie from the Speed Buggy cartoons, her hairstyle, and think of April O'Neil in the overalls. And you kind of get an idea of what Daphne looked like and was redesigned as in that series. It also introduced us to a new character named Flim Flam, who was basically started out as a Mexican con artist, and kind of used that to the team's advantage to help them out. Also, we were introduced to another character called Vincent Van Ghoul, voiced by none other than Vincent Price himself. Now, the premise of this show is real simple. The Mystery Inc. gang mostly Scooby and Shaggy, are tricked into releasing this or opening this chest of demons and releasing 13 of what is described as the most terrifying and most powerful ghosts and demons on the planet. So basically, Vincent Van Gogh assigns the Mystery Inc. gang, along with the new character Flim Flam, to go around the world and recapture all 13 ghosts before it's too late. Now, I have to say, this was a pretty good premise, even though it ran for one season. Because it was the second time, yes, the second time, that besides just Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, that Daphne, one of the original Mystery Inc. gang members, dealt with the supernatural forces. Now, what made this even more what made this even more interesting with the fact that she was dealing with the supernatural forces for the first time was, if you look in the pilot episode, there's a scene where they go into this cavern and all the townspeople drink this kind of juice. I don't know what it is. And what happens to Daphne is the same thing that happens to the townspeople. After they drink, after they drink this juice or whatever, when the moon comes out, what happens? That's right, they turn into werewolves. And what I liked about this is they actually kind of focused in on Daphne turning into a werewolf big time, because it showed her kind of like the werewolf side of her embracing everything, and then her embracing the change that she was going through. So that's what made it cool. Yes, she did get turned back to normal thanks to some magic that Flim Flam had. I don't know how that happened or how he got that, but anyway, that's what made it cool. Oh, the fact that she actually had to finally embrace a lot of that, even more so than she did in the series beforehand. But 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo definitely had a darker tone to it, but still was very Scooby-Doo-ish, if you know what I mean, when it came to the humor and everything. So it was a real fun show. It was one of my favorites, and that's why I rank it at number 2. Now, what's number 1? Well, I just mentioned it. It's a show that Daphne returned in, and she returned in 1983 to this show, and it's none other than the all-new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show / New Scooby-Doo Mysteries. Overall, let's just call it the New Scooby-Doo Mysteries. And why do I like this one? Well, because of course it introduced Daphne, and what I read about this, not introduced her, but reintroduced Daphne, reintroduced her, brought her back. But what I've read about this is that Bill and Joe and the writers of the Scooby-Doo franchise wanted to, make the new series, this incarnation, back in '83, different, and they wanted to make it different and embraceable by the fans. So basically they took the elements of the first show, Where Are You?, and they combined it, and they decided, what do we take from that so we can combine it with what fans saw just recently with those animated shorts and everything. And what do? They take one of the most popular elements out of Where Are You?, Daphne, and put her into the scenario. Now, what made this even more popular even today among fans, along with the number 2 show, 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, what made this even more popular is the fact that it got fans talking about the fact that maybe Bill and Joe wanted to pair off Shaggy and Daphne as a couple. Now you might ask yourself, why would they do that when it was quite obvious in the original series, like Where Are You? And the new Scooby-Doo movies and the Scooby-Doo show and the first incarnation of Scooby and Scrappy? Why would they want to embrace or try to put together Shaggy and Daphne?